Good up.
This is Channel 253.
On this episode of the Grit and Grain podcast,
I decided to take some time off, focus on mental health and kind of like realigning what I wanted this career to be. Because I had been seeing also a lot of people that I feel like were falling out of the industry, whether that's they were having a hard time maintaining a healthy relationship with alcohol, or they were just burnt out and tired, and they're essentially having to make a whole career shift, like in their early to late 30s. And I didn't want to feel like I fell into one of those traps. And so we took some time off and traveled and have been podcasting.
Channel 253 is member supported. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you.
Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, where we explore and celebrate the craft beer industry, community, and history in Tacoma, Washington, and surrounding Pacific Northwest areas. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, coming to you guys from Peaks and Pints in Tacoma, Washington. One of them days. My name is Matt McLaren, here as always with Ron Swarner.
Hello.
How's it going, Ron?
I'm ready to go tubular today.
Okay. Good one.
Yeah, thanks.
Our resident pro brewer and line cleaner, Bethany Carlson, is also in the building.
Hello. Hi.
How are you
guys? I'm good. How are you guys?
Very good.
Good.
This is, as you guys know, doubleheader. So bear with us.
Yeah.
You guys are doing the marathon.
It's a marathon day.
It's a lot of
What do
Firestone.
you mean? We took it easy.
Yeah, it's totally been a week.
Easy with
We did?
Firestone.
I know, three barrel aged beers in a short period of time. I'm excited for this one. This podcast is actually like over a year overdue, because we were actually trying to do this a while ago, but these guys got real busy hitting the road, and so they're back now, and I'm super excited. But our guest today is Austin and Julie from Thru the Sightglass podcast.
Guys.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're excited to be here. We've listened to all the podcasts, so
Yeah.
That's so nice.
yeah. So
Many,
you're ready
many
with your
hours.
F-up stories,
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, sweet.
Yes,
Oh,
the fuck
good,
up
good,
stories
good.
for sure.
So yeah, if you're listening and you're not familiar, these guys also do a local podcast and is very beer focused. And they also hit the road and did a bunch of on location stuff at like breweries
So
you
cool.
have all heard of, I promise you.
Yeah.
And some of the sickest stories like that I've heard, and they're so good. So if you don't follow them, please do. But I'll let you guys, if you want to just talk a little bit about what you guys do before we get into it. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. We should talk about what we're drinking first.
Yep.
Ha! What are you guys drinking?
I'm doing the Ferment Desert Island Pale.
Nice.
What do you
Very
think?
good. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
first one.
pretty classic.
Very classic.
Like dark.
It's
kind
darker
of-
than I thought, but I'm enjoying it. I love dark beers.
Sweet.
Especially when it's hot out.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when it's hot out. I'm drinking Pivo pills.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
We were discussing about that beer. I love people pills. Ron, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking our house beer, Lewitt Slanted Trees.
Oh, right on.
House.
Yeah,
I
you
wanted
guys-
hops from after the last episode.
Oh, I know. It was, yeah.
Yeah, I needed a big dose of hops. I got the Cloudburst and Fast Fashion West Coast IPA Crosstown Classic.
Oh,
Awesome.
nice.
That's probably amazing.
Really good. So amazing.
I snagged a pour of Hazy Three-Way that's on tap right now.
Ooh.
So you guys are going to hear this for a while. It's going to be gone by now, but
Yes,
hopefully you
it
don't miss
will.
out.
It needs to be.
Absolutely delicious. All cryo, just like explosive hop aroma.
I don't know who smells better though. I mean, smell that.
That's pretty fucking
Does yours
good.
smell pretty good?
Yeah. All right.
It smells so good.
So yeah, if you guys want to talk a little bit about your podcast and what you guys do, I know people who aren't familiar would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Of course. I'm Julie, half of Thru the Sightglass. Austin and I he's been in the industry, worked at breweries. I've worked in a tap room or two, and we've been together for a while now, and we live in a van, and we're kind of getting burnout, and we like to travel, and we go to all the breweries anyways, and after going to so many breweries, playing cribbage, we kind of got a little bored, which is wild to think about that we could say that we got bored going and just playing crib and drinking beer. So we decided to add something to it for our next year of travel, and we started a podcast. So we went across, from the last year we did 50, I think we just rounded out 55 podcasts.
Yeah.
In, I think, 12 different states.
That's fucking awesome.
So we've had an incredible time. It's very much storytelling. So we start out, it's pretty similar format. Matt, you got to experience it. Your podcast is coming out in the next few weeks. Very much storytelling. So where do people grow up? How they get introduced to craft beer? Do they remember their first craft beer that they wanted to do something with? And then what sparked their interest to either start a brewery, become a brewer, open a bottle shop. We've done 2 bottle shops, 1 brewery, distillery, 1 wine shop, like cider shop.
Malt houses,
Yeah, and a
yeah.
malt
Oh,
house.
sure.
Yeah, so we've done like a few things that kind of dabble in the industry. So we hope to do more of like, do some
Yeah. It
hops
kind of started
maybe and
off
stuff,
like
so.
when you have a bar stool conversation. After a couple of pints, people tend to loosen up and tell their story where they're from. And that's what we were kind of missing kind of coming out of COVID. We actually decided to start the podcast over here in Peaks and Pines. We ordered all the equipment,
Yeah.
but I was coming
Sitting
out
at the
of...
bar here.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
We're going to do this.
Yeah.
They probably were recording one day too. I was like, that's smart.
Awesome.
But thanks for paving the way.
Yeah.
But I think I just put in, I think like a 2-month notice at Fort George, and we were looking at traveling. And so we were like, it'd be cool to stop in all these places we made friends and hear how they got into this crazy world.
And it's been crazy.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So were you going to places and then meeting people and then being like, hey, do you also want to be interviewed? Or were you going to places that you like knew people at and like knew the person already kind of? Or
We
a little
only
bit of
did a
both?
few that we knew the people. Like our
Yeah.
first few, like Rachyl was our first one for Years and Bedtimes.
Saw
Shout out
that.
Rachyl.
Boop, boop, boop. Hi, Rachel.
And then, I mean, our second one was with Obelisk, Dave, and them over at Obelisk, and we knew them from Fort George. But our third one was DeGard, and we had never,
Yeah, with Trevor.
we had never
Sick.
met him. I think we'd been to the tap room. I mean, we drank tons of DeGard. We'd never been, and so when he told me we got DeGard, I was like, I'm sorry. We hadn't even posted anything either.
Yeah.
Like
so
we
cool.
hadn't even posted, and it was the best. And so just from there, Austin does all the reach.
I'm a very extroverted person on Instagram, which is funny because brewers are very reclusive people.
Yeah.
So they're like, what? And then I just kind of corner them. But yeah, he was very soft-spoken, but super kind,
You should
super
listen.
smart.
It's an amazing
It's a great
podcast.
episode.
So yeah.
I'll tell you guys from my perspective, because I didn't know you guys back then. When I saw that DeGard was your episode number 3, I was like, son of a bitch. I was furious.
Like, hey, wait a second.
Yeah. But it was so good, and he was like so
It was
open and honest
amazing.
about like his business and his everything, and it was like, I don't know, man. We couldn't have gotten that story out of him. It was so cool, and I feel like part of being on location maybe
Yeah,
is like
I
people
think
just
we
being
have-
comfortable telling their
Yeah.
stories.
I think that's where we have the benefit of coming to their location. So,
Yeah.
but-
Let's say it's a benefit, but also we've been living in 60 square
Yeah.
feet for 5 years.
Dude, you guys are.
Yeah. So we were getting the most use out of living super tiny.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's been really cool to be in their space.
Yeah.
We really want to put their business first and give them, as a content creator, I'm sure y'all know it's hard to have content every time, every week. And so it's nice to bring a fresh eye to it and to help them create content, be able to capture stories that they wouldn't normally tell over a bar stool conversation or even on a bottle of beer or something
Yeah.
like that. So we've got some crazy stories from people. And some of our favorite ones are, the first beer, their craft beer that they loved. How they came up with their name or location.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are cool stories to hear. So we have some fun things to share. I mean, going back through it, I was like, wow, I can't believe we've done 55 podcasts in a little over a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So-
I think it's a quicker clip than we're putting them out. Our last one before, you guys are 151, I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, I mean.
How'd
it
you
is.
two meet?
Oh, man.
Oh, Seven Seas Tap
Yeah.
Room.
Yeah.
I was, it is probably, there's a lot of lore of people probably
So
meeting in
Mike and
breweries.
Travis
Tap room.
brought you together.
Yes, we could say that. Mike and Travis brought a lot of people together. But yeah, I was doing production downstairs, and her best friend had just moved to Tacoma as a travel nurse, and you were out in St. Louis or Nashville?
Yeah, both.
Both.
My mom calls me a tumbleweed, so I'm from the South, and so I kind of have bounced around everywhere.
Sure.
So, I ended up here.
Yeah.
Is this the Tacoma tap room?
Yeah, the
Gig
Tacoma
Harbor.
Tap Room.
Yeah.
It was 2018.
Oh,
You
yeah.
started in the Gig
2018.
Harbor one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had started at Seven Seas in 2015, and I think the next year is when they announced the Heidelberg building, and then moved in. I think that summer. So then I was Tacoma based.
So that's how you met Rachyl.
That's how I met
Yes.
Rachyl. There was Seven Seas had a large crew of like people from Texas, and then also very lovely craft beer centric people that have gone on to do awesome
They're honestly
things.
still some of our best friends.
Sure.
Like, and not all of them live here in Tacoma. So it's kind of crazy that some of our best friends have come from Seven Seas. And yeah, it's amazing. But I was the tap room manager. I came in, I had done previous corporate experience, had traveled for a year, wanted to find something. So I jumped in as the assistant tap room manager or something like that. And we met just being at the brewery and talking over the bar and exchanging office quotes.
Yeah, awkwardly. That's how I introduced myself. I asked her role, and she's like, "I'm the assistant taproom manager." I was like, "Oh, assistant to the taproom manager," and she was like, "Hi." And I was like, "Got it."
Yep.
Awkward as hell, sweaty. It's like, cool. The cane line's messing up. I'll see you later.
Is it true you eloped?
We
Yep.
did. Yeah, we did. It is very true. We've been
You
together.
did some digging.
I know.
I like that.
Oh yeah, bro.
We've been together now for 7 years, and once Austin left Seven Seas, I followed pretty soon after. We did 4 months of long distance. He got a job over at Frame, that small little brewery.
I know. Your fucking resume is heinous, bro.
Seriously.
Yeah,
Lord George.
it is.
All the way to free.
I'm glad I was young enough to get thrown into it, and I was just like, all right, I'm doing this. Because looking back, I'm like, that was nuts.
Yeah.
That was nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was at Freem, I was sleeping in my car 4 days a week and then driving back to Tacoma because I still lived in Tacoma.
Get the
Oh my
fuck
god.
Yeah. So I do 410s
Yeah.
and I have like a sleeping bag and like obviously change of clothes and there was a shower to shower in, but all the it was like February. So stuff is like freezing over
Yeah.
and all the employees would be like, "You going home?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I opened my Kia Soul and I just hopped
How
in."
did Farmer Matt not invite you to his house?
Well, I don't think he knew. I bet
Yeah.
he would have. I did have
Dude.
people open their sofas, but there was a leather sofa, so I'm like, this is just as cold, but that's all right.
People ask us what grit means in Grit and Grain. That is what
That
we mean
is-
when we say grit.
Yeah.
If you want to get experience at the fucking best brewery on the planet at that time, then sleep in your car for 4 days a week.
Yeah,
For sure.
That's insane, dude.
yeah.
As well, and that's really where we started talking about doing a van.
Yeah.
I'd never heard about van life, and he showed me pictures, and I was like, I just want to keep traveling. I have a remote job. I want to keep traveling.
He's like, I'm really trying to upgrade my square footage
Yeah.
from my
Yeah.
backseat
Yeah.
of my
I want to get
Taurus.
to 70 someday.
Big dreams. Big dreams. Yeah, the mac and cheese and the MSR stove, I was like, it'd be cool to have a real.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. But you were looking for the same thing. You were like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be tied down. Like, let's travel.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so we built out the van starting January 2020. COVID hit, obviously. He proposed March 13th of COVID 2020. March 15th, he got a call from his boss saying, don't come in.
Yeah.
Great timing.
The whole
Great
world's
timing.
changed.
Yeah.
Don't come in right now.
Yeah. We got engaged on Friday the 13th. And so the 13th is like a lucky number for us. But we were like, oh man, that we caused COVID. It was all we got engaged on Friday the 13th.
There's a lot of other stuff that happened. We didn't cause it.
We did it.
We
Come
will
to find out it was
we will
Andy from
clarify.
Cascades that caused COVID.
Yeah.
But, so we started building up the van. COVID hit. We're sitting around. We had no idea what to do. No one did. And we ended up, my family lives in Oklahoma, and I have engineers and construction people in my family, and my mom had extra space for us. So we packed up everything in the van and went. We drove 2 days straight to get to Oklahoma.
Damn.
Not the best time to be in Oklahoma because it's like 105 every single day to build out a van, but we did it.
And I grew up here. I grew up spoiled, so like humidity, heat that doesn't turn off even at like 1 a.m. It'd still be 95 degrees. And I'm like, what is this place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melting.
Yeah. Bugs, hailstorms, all the things. So he got to spend a ton of time with my family. We drank a lot of beers, sat on a lot of trash cans with water in it. Funniest story.
Yeah.
Built up the van and then hit the road. And a week later, he got the job at Fort George.
Man.
And so we moved to Astoria
Damn.
Wow.
and lived. It was the best.
And then the
We loved
fires happened.
it. Yeah, the fire.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's happening?
And everyone's like running out to the coast, and we're like, "What's happening?"
Oh, yeah.
All of our friends were like, "Do you have any room for us?" And we're like, "We live in a van. No."
We go to like Fort Stevens.
park
and
next
it was
to
just
us.
packed.
Yeah.
Everybody
you
was
can park
going to
next
it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Bring a tent.
Bring
Yeah.
a tent. Yeah. Yeah. So that Fort George, you were there for a year doing the cellar work.
I did the weekend cellar stuff at Fort George, and I had never done cellar work before. So Michael had interviewed me, and he's like, "You have all this production experience. Do you know any cellar stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah." Absolutely not.
Also, no.
Figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Can you explain the difference? Because those are two different jobs in a brewery. Can you explain the difference as somebody who's done both of them, production and cellar work?
yeah. So they both require a lot of like QA, QC, and just nonstop cleaning. But cellar work is more of like the yeast and the transformation of essentially all your sugar, water, and ingredients into actual beer, taking care of that to then get it ready for package. And then packaging is its whole another thing where you have to monitor that like what you're doing is keeping that beer as true to style and as little deal as possible from that final stage into your package to then get delivered. So I did that at Freem, which was very high volume, and it was a great team and great environment there. And then going into cellar production work at Fort George, I was way over my head.
You learned
picked it up
quickly though.
quick. Yeah.
Because you went into you did it by yourself starting within the first like 60 days.
Yeah.
They put him working, and that's when they had moved over to the cannery.
Yeah.
Which I was like 160,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's a huge building.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
a game we can play later. It's called Can You Find Austin? And it's a picture of him in the brewery by himself, and you have to try and find him.
I look like a Lego figure.
He looks tiny compared
Yeah.
to these tanks. It's wild. He would longboard between things because
Hey, that's not OSHA compliant. We don't need
But it is really
that's
efficient.
a fuck up.
There
They're
was
not
no
listening.
longboarding. There was no longboarding
He
between
walked
tanks
really
for gravity
quickly.
checks. Yeah,
In your Tevas and your open-toed shoes.
exactly. It's like whole new world when it's just me in there. I've got Aladdin playing. Yeah. It was many long days, but yeah. So I started weekend cellar work for Fort George, which is getting everything from tracking fermentation, dry hoppings, and dumping of yeast, then getting it ready for package. That's what I did Saturday to Tuesday. So
Yeah.
it was intense.
It was intense. I felt it. I feel like I've never worked in a brewery, but I feel like I've worked in a brewery because I would sit because he was the only one in there. So he's dry hopping. So he'd be on a scissor lift, like 40 feet in the air, and no one's there. No one's coming around. No one's checking on him. The doors are locked. So after me peeping in through the windows so many times, I was like, just you go in, give me the key. And I would sit in the break room. So I shifted my hours. So he worked weekends, so I would work weekends. So I would sit in the break room with the door open.
Yeah.
And I would work my little remote job. So if I heard a crash or a yell or
That never happened either.
it never
Sure.
did, thankfully.
Dude, you never know. We've all heard
It's
Sean's
dangerous.
fuck up story.
Oh yeah.
But it's so dangerous. And so I was so terrified that he was going to die. I was going to find him like in a pool of beer on the floor. That was so terrifying.
Gone out like a perfect
Guy.
Yeah.
No, they did a good job with safety and like training, but I think I was just naive enough to essentially take on the task of a 2-person job because everybody was skeleton crewed at that point. This is
Well, it was a new
2020
facility,
still.
and they really had cut down their crew. So it's a new facility.
Yeah.
They've cut down their crew. It's COVID. Like
Yeah.
it's just a weird time. So I'm sure they've changed it now, but it was intense.
Yeah.
So after that, we started traveling. And that's where we traveled in the van, drank at a lot of amazing breweries, played a lot of cribbage. Neither of us were working at the time. And so I think that year we really realized we were like hiking and doing all these things, but we needed more. We wanted more. And so we had talked about it, that if we ever did another year of travel, like we wanted to structure it differently. So
Sure.
after that, he came back and started working in Portland.
Yeah, I was working at Steeplejack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
You're following your sales manager.
I know, right?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Followed Tim around.
That's right. I
Actually,
beat
he
Tim there.
followed.
Did
He
Yeah,
followed,
I was.
Austin.
We were funny enough. Most of my breweries jobs I've gotten while we were visiting Lubbock, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But I had known Anna previously from high school, and then
whoa.
and then Anna was working I think Rock Bottom for a while and a
Yeah.
couple other breweries, and we were actually at Fort George when she was like, "Hey, I'm interviewing for this head brewer job at Steeplejack." And then here we are like a year later. She was like, "Hey, we're opening a production facility and you have all this experience. Do you want to come on?" And I was like, "Yeah." And that was when Ann was just leaving as well. So I got to brew with them and hang with them for about 3 or 4 months. And that crew was fun. Super
Sure.
awesome to watch like a small brewery kind of get built up, especially really quickly with Brody and Dustin. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy
He's a hungry
moly.
motherfucker, man.
Yeah, it does not stop. There's like coffee, there's whiskey now. I'm like, dude, the portfolio has exploded. But yeah,
Did that for a year.
did that for a year, and I don't know. After a while, I think I'd hit this not like ceiling, but I was a brewer, but I didn't feel like my success was feeling the same as it should, and so I decided to take some time off, focus on mental health, and kind of like realigning what I wanted this career to be. Because I had been seeing also a lot of people that I feel like were falling out of the industry, whether that's they were having a hard time maintaining a healthy relationship with alcohol, or they were just burnt out and tired, and they're essentially having to make a whole career shift, like in their early to late 30s. And I didn't want to feel like I fell into one of those traps. And so we took some time off and traveled and have been podcasting.
Yeah, he worked at Belmont Station for about 6 months, and then we moved to Bend for about 6 months and just enjoyed Bend.
Yeah.
Because living a great
Living
life.
the actual dream of all of us. Like,
Also, isn't it awesome to interview a podcaster?
also, you guys are so good at this.
I'm glad. I was nervous to be not like leading the conversation, so this is great.
No.
Oh yeah.
I know you guys don't have to feel any responsibility for carrying this
I
on,
know.
but you're doing great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we and then I think we did the podcast with you, Rachyl, in January of 2024.
Last year,
2024. Yeah. And we had like her table full of charcuterie, and just we had a bunch of beers, and we just sat there and talked, and honestly had the best time. And we're like, all right,
This is awesome.
we're like, this is
Right.
great. This is what. And honestly, every time we do it, that's how we feel. Like, I mean, it's not very often that we go into a brewery and don't have an amazing time talking with the people. So
Yeah.
Who's the project manager? Because the website and the whole thing
Well,
is
he
so
did-
slick.
Oh,
he did
thank
the
you.
website. He has the creative eye, but I am the project manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Don't check up on the
By
blog.
trade.
Double Ps.
Yeah.
By trade.
By trade.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, like, there's so many things. I think, like, looking at it, like, I've worked, another friend that we met from Seven Seas, they owned a brewery elsewhere in Atlanta, Georgia. I worked there for a while. So those are really my only two places I've actually physically worked in a brewery. And so to be able to be alongside him and to do the things that we're doing has really, I mean, I couldn't do it without him. And I bet you could do it without me, but I definitely couldn't do it without you.
Not at all.
And so,
Not at
no.
all. I would be stinky, malnourished. Yeah,
Definitely would be malnourished.
30
yeah.
square feet.
exactly. The fan got smaller somehow.
Yeah. Waist deep upside down in a mash tun somewhere.
Yeah. Exactly.
The website's gorgeous. It flows really well. It
Yeah.
reads really well. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
And there's so much more we want to do with it too. Like, I think it's hard. We've been doing something for a year. We're like, okay, let's reevaluate. What else do we want to do? Because we can talk about our year of traveling, but we now have moved back to Tacoma, and he has a job here in Tacoma that he's at a brick and mortar every single day. And so trying to figure out what the podcast will look for us. We still want to do it. We honestly would love to do some international travel to do podcasting as well. And so I know. So it's definitely something that we want to keep up, because you've seen it's in a backpack. Like, we can pack up and take it anywhere. Probably have to put more padding if we checked it. But there's more that we want to do with it. So thank you. Like, we want to continue to share stories. Small businesses themselves, it's always a struggle, but then breweries, I think also it can be even more of a struggle. So we want to just help support those people, share the stories so the community around them can also be encouraged to go there and understand why they're doing what they're doing and their passion behind it. Honestly, I think I cry every single time we talk to somebody. Like, I always tear up because there's just such an amazing story behind every single brewery you go to. Like, you can't not talk to a brewer and not know their grit and what
Sure.
what they've gone through and what they're wanting to do, and what they want to see for their future and what they want to do for the community. Like, there's so many breweries that we go to that their sole focus is to impact their community. Like, they're not even going outside of that. Like, they just want to focus on their community, and I think that's just a beautiful story.
Did the main beer company episode where I can't remember the actual number, but they
$800,000
$800,000 in 1 year that they
1 year.
raised for like community programs through the brewery.
And it was over like 160 organizations.
Yeah. Like unfucking believable.
In 1 year.
And like obviously Maine Beer Company is like, yeah, dude, like that's $800,000 that could be in like two people's pockets. Like, and it's just part of the community's. It's in everybody in the community's pockets, and it's like, if you want an example of like how to use beer as a platform to do good, which like we do talk about. Or Tacoma Beer Week is kind of aims at this too, but like go listen to that Maine Beer Company episode because it's fucking excellent, and it does like it was one of those things like I kind of welled up like listening to it because it's like these dudes just actually want to do this, like they're good at this one thing and they're going to use it to do as much good for the community as possible, and they're successful at it, and it's insane.
If you look at the pictures on our Instagram that we have, like their facility is huge, but its main focus is production to get beer out. And because their tap room, it's pretty big, but it's really not that big. And they only have the one location. It's not like they have multiple locations. It's like they're focused on raising money to then be able to give it back. And I think that's a cool story. And do y'all know why their most popular beer is called Lunch?
Why?
It's because it's a whale. Their first $100, so they are 1% for the planet. Their first $100 that they gave for 1% for the planet for their first year of work was because a whale called Lunch had a bite out of its fin, so that's why they called it Lunch. Yeah. And so now they've done this whole series for different types of organizations, and especially with that one organization with the whales, and Lunch was a whale.
Not named after the meal.
Not named after the whale.
No, yeah.
Named after a whale.
Yep.
It's their first $100, their first year.
Yeah.
And that their production. I think it's now like 75% of the production they do is
Lunch IPA.
Is Lunch.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Not even joking.
And I think if I remember correctly, their barrel age is like 80,000 barrels or somewhere higher than that. So it's essentially all like one beer. Yeah. But it is cool. And this is just one of many stories.
So
we were in Asheville for about 3 weeks, and then a week later, like we left, and then Helene rolled through, and all the breweries that got damaged. But to see like all the community come together, the industry come together. I know Burial and a ton of other places helped out.
Dude.
I mean, one of them we did New Origin, like he didn't open up shop again. His brewery got like wiped down to like the concrete, and he built his whole brewery, and he was just like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe you guys were there so close to that actually happening.
Yeah.
It was kind of wild that like looking back at it, because we could have honestly stayed another week because we loved Asheville.
Oh yeah.
And then I don't know what
your trip would have been so different.
Wow. I don't know what would have happened to us.
Van would have been a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck.
Maybe.
Yeah. The places we
not made for this.
Yeah. Shit.
But yeah, so it's just been incredible to hear people's stories and to share it and really understand why people are doing what they are doing, and I don't know, give people a voice.
And I think in a time where there's a lot of doom and gloom around the industry, or there are a lot of people getting burnout, it's kind of nice to focus on, I think, light, good, happy things that are happening, because it's really easy to get in your own bubble of just like, oh, everything stinks. And I think for us, when we were traveling, that's where we got to see all these little pockets, and it's like the flame was just like rekindled again. I was like, oh, it's not all this way. I was just too focused on where I was at.
Sure. Yeah, just like the humanity behind all of this.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool.
And it's crazy, like, if you think about all the different areas we were in, I mean, 12 different states, literally coast to coast.
Yeah.
Like, the beer scenes are drastically different in every single state. And it's kind of wild to see it firsthand and hear people say, like one of the breweries we talked to, they're like, if we didn't have a kitchen, like, we would be dead. And then we know another brewery that they closed because their kitchen was killing them. So it's like, it's so wild to, because you're sitting here and you're like, people are getting their information of like what they should do, but they're getting it from one source. Like, you need to really be able to look at the scope and understand like where you're at and like the region that you're in and your population that you're working towards and your outreach and what that looks like. And so just really understanding that from a marketing and then also a product perspective is just so wild. So it's been really cool to see the different areas and enjoy the different types of craft beer communities. Like, it's been really fun because I think we've been really connected to the Tacoma one for a while, obviously. Sure. And then we really got to enjoy the Oregon community for a while. So it's been really fun to open up to so many different communities. And there's so many more. I think that's the crazy part, is that like
endless.
There's so many,
and especially for you guys, like, it's endless with your traveling and stuff. Like, you can literally go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's such a really good platform.
We've driven from Portland to Oklahoma City in 2 days, and for us, we're like, This means we can get beer from American
I
Solera
know.
essentially in 48 hours.
Oh, yes!
So I'm just like,
Suck it, Lee. I'm kidding. I love you.
Yeah. But I mean, we have talked about that. We're like, a big reason why we're in Washington is because some of the distribution laws, like we would love to be able to.
Yeah, for bringing beer into the state.
Yeah, like it'd be like really cool to be able to do some stuff. And I mean, I remember.
Hit me up.
Yeah. We will.
I know. Actually, this is a good time to take a quick break because we actually do have some beers that we want to pop on the break. Okay. Give us just a second. We'll be right back.
Yeah, this is really hard work.
Yeah.
I need a break.
You're breaking a sweat.
Greetings, listeners. Thank you for listening to yet another Channel 253 Podcast Network episode.
This episode is only able to happen thanks to the listeners who have supported Channel 253 with a membership of $4 a month or $40 a year. They help keep the microphones running. And if you appreciate what I really think is like a public service to the people of Tacoma, I hope you will support what we're doing.
Especially at this time when there's a mayoral race in Tacoma, and we're trying to cover that, as well as all the other things that we cover: food, beer,
politics, moving to Tacoma, just the interesting people around town. We've got a lot to check out. So if you like what we're doing, visit channel253.com/membership. And thank you.
Welcome back, everybody.
Smelling.
Thank you for hanging out during the break. As always, a quick shout out to Doug, our wonderful producer, who makes it sound awesome every single week.
Thank you, Doug.
And to Chris for
Thank
putting
you,
us on
Doug.
video every week. If you guys haven't, please do go check out Green Red Podcast on YouTube. You can watch videos, pretend you're sitting at the table right with us, getting drunk and having fun. And also, if you haven't yet, go check out Channel 253. As Doug mentioned in the last one, it's mayor season. And if you want some good election info and want to stay connected to what's going on, Channel 253 is the spot to do that. So definitely go check them out. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys explain what we're drinking right here, actually, because this is
Seems like a lot.
this is one of my favorite.
Left nothing.
This is one of the
Sorry.
coolest beer projects in the country that I know of.
Oh, it's an extra one.
So yeah, what did you guys bring?
So we brought Cool Bus, and Cool Bus is the brand name. So the story goes, we met Eric, not even in Portland, Maine. When we were headed to Portland, Maine, we were headed there for interviews and work, and that's where we we're going to be staying the winter. And I was cold calling people on Instagram to interview, and Eric responded back and said, "Hey, I'd love to do the podcast, but I'm not in Maine. I live in Vancouver, Canada." And I was like, "Oh, okay. That's cool." He's like, "But definitely check out Novar Res." And we had never been to that beer cafe. We've been to the Brick Store in Atlanta, which is legendary. So then to go to something else that is similar, we were just blown away. And during our time in Maine, he eventually came back. We were about to leave, and he's like, "Hey, I'm in town. Would love to meet you guys." So we
It
got
was
to
like the
meet.
last 2 days that
That's
we were
so
there.
cool.
Yeah, the last 2 days. So we got to meet Eric, and the reason the brand is called Cool Bus is because he built a cool ship in a school
In a
bus,
school
and
bus.
took it around to different breweries.
What?
Yep.
Yes, that's why it's a bus.
I feel like
There's a big cool ship in the actual fucking bus.
Say it
Yeah.
again, third time? No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
So cool.
Yeah,
Keep
and
going.
so he did that, and his fascination reason for doing that is he actually went to Belgium, and he learned how to brew a traditional Belgian turbid mash
In a school bus.
in
From-
in a school bus.
From Pierre Tolkien.
Yep.
Yeah.
He trained with
Tolkien.
fucking Pierre.
Yeah.
So he brought back this like project on top of running this amazing beer bar, and this was his side project. And so he did a couple different iterations. This one is with another brewery that's really popular up there called Tributary. Todd and Woody Mott. Todd Mott started at Portsmouth Brewing, which eventually would turn into Harpoon, and he wrote Harpoon IPA and a bunch of their early recipes.
It's a good-
So he is
podcast
like
is
a
like-
legend
Dude.
up there. Everybody knows him. And so, and his son now is taking over the brewery. So it's a combination between Tributary and then the Cool Bus, Eric's project for Woody's wedding.
For Woody's wedding. Yeah, and they actually, you'll never find that label anywhere else because they had a cease and desist because of the name. So, yeah.
Coup de fooder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you won't. You
So
won't
many
find,
quips. I know.
Yeah.
Ron's like,
Just
oh,
too
yeah.
much.
Yeah. So you probably won't find that label anywhere else because they had to change it. It was just for the wedding.
How do you find and choose your guests?
Well, I don't
He-
have a process. Other than I look on the website and the Instagram and kind of see if that's curated well. And then whatever background info I can kind of find about these people, see if they would be interested or not. But again, a lot of this cold calling and talking to people, I've really gotten able to like pull people out of the woodwork that I don't think necessarily would want to do a podcast, but we're like, hey, you know what? You're going to come to our space. Absolutely. Like, we'd love to tell you our story.
That usually helps for us to like be there. I think they're like more willing to tell the story. And when we say it's more about, you know, your passion and what you're wanting to do with your business, that really helps. But you really know your shit. I could ask him how many breweries, I mean, off the top of my head, we've probably been to like 100 breweries ever in our entire lifetime together. Yeah. I could ask him, do you remember that one beer that like I was drinking at that one place like 4 years ago? And he'd be like, oh yeah, it was this, this, and this. Like he like knows everything. Like he has such a good memory for that. So I think you just know you have a like really good intuition of like if it's going to be a good place to interview, one if they're doing good beer, and I think you just understand the industry better than most people, especially now that you've been across the U.S. a couple times. Like, who's doing what? And then it's just us like bouncing into places too and talking to people.
A lot of drinking with a lot of other people and a lot of hangovers. I would think by now we would learn just how to do our own IVs to save us the trouble.
I should have been a nurse.
Yeah, seriously.
And are you snapping photos when you're there?
Oh yeah. Okay. So we did a year recap in December, and since then we've done like 20 more podcasts maybe. So every place that we go, we do pictures, videos, and then I do usually like an Instagram story. I started doing more TikTok. We want to do more YouTube, and then for the website doing blog information. But I forget how many. My camera roll is kind of insane. And then really cool thing, a big reason why we probably stayed for a long time in Maine was because Batson River actually reached out to us. They're in Portland, Maine, and they have 4 locations in the Maine area. They actually reached out to us, and they're like, are you going to be in the Portland area anytime soon? And we're like, yeah, actually. And they're like, we would love, they were the first place that ever reached out to us. We were like,
sick. We're famous.
Play it cool.
We were in
everybody be cool. It's just
everybody be cool.
Yeah. We were in Littleton, New Hampshire at Chilling, and we were drinking a beer. I was like, this brewery reached out to us to do a podcast, and we were like, we made it. I was like, we made it, baby. Still no money coming in, so whoever wants to sponsor us and pay us, we would love that.
We need to figure
also,
that out.
samesies.
Yeah. Also for these people too as well, please.
Yeah. But yeah, so honestly, we ended up doing, because there was a bigger project that we would love to do within all of this. And so we asked Batson before we left, because we become really good friends with them. They have their 4 location. They also have a distillery as well. Yeah. Their spirits are insane. Like, they're so good.
Their whole process is. And we didn't know this, but they had yet to receive the World Beer Connoisseur kind of results, and they won Best Czech Dark Lager. It was like 100 points out of 100. So it was on the magazine. So that whole crew, from the distiller John to Dan to the brew crew, they're all super talented people and super humble. So for them to be like, come podcast with us, we're like, okay. Yeah. So, absolutely.
Dude.
They were our first podcast in Maine, and then before we left, we actually did a larger project with them with a lot more footage. And so I'm still working on that project to put some cool footage things together with them. So
we did a sexy brewer calendar that's going to come out 2026.
You're all of them?
It's all just different fantasies of mine. Always wanted to be a sexy
over there
construction
shaking her head
worker.
like, yes. She's like, I'll help. Yes. Yes.
At all 12 breweries I've worked at.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, that'd be great. Great publicity.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. And again, meeting these people, it's a great opportunity, just like y'all. I mean, getting to know y'all so much better is just, it makes this industry so wonderful.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, that's why I think we probably haven't left, is because meeting more people and talking with them has probably helped a lot. So, and they're really good beer.
I know. Hey, speaking of which, Ron, what did you pour for everybody?
Well, the perennial Devil's Heart of Gold wheat wine.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Isn't
just
that
amazing?
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I've
man.
never had this beer. I love perennial.
Cheers, Sean.
Yeah.
No kidding. Dude, it's like almost herbal, like a fucking underberg. Like it's got some of those like super Amaro, like herbal sort of things. It's so good.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right. Well, before we go anywhere.
I know. Now we have another one.
We have one more.
We do have one more.
So we actually.
It's a smaller.
We were
bottle.
excited. We were just going to visit Bissell Brothers, and then our friend, and you may know Dwayne at Bridge and Tunnel, was like, "Hey, you're in Maine."
Ron's doppelganger.
Yeah. Which also Todd. You all look the same.
Todd.
Legendary people in the industry just look
I'm
like
not even
a
joking.
retired wizard at a bus stop, just waiting to hand out quests.
That's a great beer name.
Yeah.
Write it down, Ron.
But so Dwayne had asked us, he was like, hey, when you stop at Bissell Brothers, can you pick up some bottles for me? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then when we were there, I was like, let me just shoot a message. And Noah Bissell.
We were not. We were like, it's one of those things. Like, even I don't know a lot, but I know enough. And so,
Yeah.
Go on.
so when he said we got Bissell, I was like, are you? And that was, so we did Bissell and Maine Beer Co. back to back.
Wow.
I almost lost my mind that week.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, is this real?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was fun to sit down and talk with Noah. And then, yeah, of course, like pick up some of their beer. And when we left Portland, Maine to move back to the States, we had
What do I pound?
75 bottles of beer in our 60 square foot van. And I was even thinking about like, how do I fit 6 barrels in here?
God.
Our
Okay.
2 cats,
Oh my
75
God.
bottles of beer.
We should not.
packed to the
I don't
gills.
know. I honestly don't know how we got back from Maine with the amount of beer that was in the van. I think we did a final total and it was like 60 bottles and like 40 cans or something like that. It was like honestly insane. And we didn't have any space. I don't even know
Where
how
you
we
kept
found
it.
space.
Yeah.
You're like, we'll sleep outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Outside our van.
It's getting to that point. Us and our 2 cats on leashes,
Yeah.
just being like, you're gonna have to brave the outside world tonight, guys.
And then
Like, what
on
the
the way
fuck?
back from Maine, so my family lives south in Oklahoma, and then one of my best friends is in. We did Louisiana,
Yeah, we did
Atlanta. Like we
New
went
Orleans.
south,
Yeah.
and we did in 2 weeks. I think we did another 10 podcasts in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It was
was fun.
insane because
I feel like such a bitch complaining about. Anyway.
because
You also are working full time.
Yeah.
This was our job.
Yeah, because he had gotten the job here, and so we needed to get back, but we wanted to spend a little bit of time. His family is in Oregon, so we're like, we want to spend a little bit of time with Oregon, and so we wanted to spend time with my family. So we like, I think we did a couple of two-dayers for sure. Not recommended.
Sure.
Yeah. For even being so extroverted and enjoying talking about this.
Every 2 weeks.
Okay, every 2
Yeah,
weeks.
we do 2
You do
first.
get tired. Like there's a point where your brain where you're like, I have no more questions to ask anybody for a week straight.
Tired, drunk. It's very
Absolutely.
similar. Very similar.
True thing.
My liver needs a rest.
This is actually my very first Bissell Brothers beer. I've never had
Yeah,
a Bissell
mine too.
Brothers. Yeah.
I think me too.
Can somebody talk about Bissell Brothers? Because that's new to me.
Oh yeah.
You can listen about it.
Yeah.
There is a podcast out about it.
Yeah.
But we'll tell you.
Yeah, but like short. I think can't remember, which is probably bad of me. I can't remember when Bissell Brothers started, but it was right along the hype timeline of like Treehouse and all these other big hazy breweries that were kind of started line culture, and it was being traded across the states. And they started out with a lot of hazy beer. Funny enough, they love to make lagers. But yeah, so that's where Bissell Brothers and a lot of their hype came from. And so as things, I think, kind of dissolved down with like the forming of lines and standing in line for beer, Treehouse and Bissell Brothers are still the most consistent people where they will go and stand in line for cans and like buy out lots. And they think that's strange because like we thought it was all done because it happened for a ton of different breweries and not for them. So yeah.
I can see why, because this is fucking insane.
Well, okay. So that podcast is out, and I do encourage all of y'all to. I know that. Okay, I'm no professional, but Instagram, like all of the photos of all of these places are on there, and there's some really cool places. Like Bissell Bros has an incredible space. Maine Beer Co has an incredible. Austin Street Brewery in Portland has an incredible space. Like
Yeah.
all like to go. That's why we kind of want to do a little bit more video, because we love this format, but we wanted to give a more like experiential vibe to
Like
it.
tour the brewery, see some of the guts of everything.
Like walk
Yeah.
through the door with us, like check out the bar.
Sure,
What is
yeah.
it? What do the tap handles look like? What, you
we,
know?
we got inspiration from Chef's Table. Like we essentially wanted to shoot video like that about like a brewery story or like a craft malt house,
Sure.
and what they do is like
sure.
that sort of inspiration.
But you walk in, so Bissell Bros, when you walk in, they have an incredible, vibrant, beautiful space. The 3 Bs is like the big thing. And then you go into their separate, they have like a separate bar location or whatever. They have these 3 huge, massive bees hanging from the ceiling, this massive ceiling, and just greenery just draping down, and they have like LED lights in it. At night you walk in, you're like, okay, yeah, I want beer, please. I just want to sit here.
Yeah.
Can I
so
lay,
magical.
Can I lay on the ground and look up, please? Because it's just so beautiful.
Almost all those places in what seemed to be Portland, Maine, they all had great atmospheres. Like Austin Street Brewery had garage doors. 3/4 of their walls were these giant roll-up garage doors.
Huge
and they had hundreds of ferns in there that were like 5-6 feet long. So
Insane.
it was
you
just
feel like
nuts.
you were like greenery. So
Yeah.
like that's why we want to do more on like YouTube and stuff like that, so people can like see things that we're seeing, because these places are incredible and they put so much time and effort and thought around their breweries, and being able to share that is just another level and just so exciting. So trying to figure that out.
Yeah, that's the current project.
Yeah.
Current
Yeah, on top of
project.
all our other ones. Time, money.
Besides your sit down with Matt McLaren, what has been your most emotional interview?
I know that's a joke, but honestly, these guys got me to open up pretty hard.
Yeah. It's a good podcast. It's a good podcast.
Not gonna lie.
I think the hardest I've ever cried was actually the one that we just did with Lucky Envelope, which I know
Yeah.
y'all just did one with him. We just did one this last week with him.
Yeah.
And it was really hard. But like, I'm just so inspired by them. And,
That's
like, what they're
amazing,
doing.
because all we do is laugh with Barry.
I know.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, like, be the only Chinese-owned brewery, like, in
Yeah.
the Northwest
And-
for 10 years.
And have you seen their medals?
The wall's
The
unbelievable.
wall
Yeah.
is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It looks like a Breakside, honestly.
Dude, yeah. Hell
Like,
yeah.
If they honestly displayed it like Breakside, it would feel the same.
Yeah.
Because it's incredible.
I can't wait to hear that one.
I
Damn.
know.
Right?
We're about 6 weeks out, so
Okay.
we'll get there.
I think, like, I really enjoyed this one. It's a brewery called Nothing's Left in Tulsa. And I think I really enjoyed it because I maybe came into it with a mindset of, like, beer is a certain way. And these people, they say their slogan is, like, if you can dream it, it's possible. They made a boba tea milkshake beer, and they put boba tea in the cans. And so for me, I'm like, before I was like, oh, no way. But then listening to talk, and they were both like, why should anybody shut down another person's dream? Like, it's kind of crazy in this industry that there is sort of this, like, gatekeeping attitude of, like, well, you don't actually make beer. And it's like...
You're fucking right.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, so that was for me, like, hearing that. And again, it's also coming from a brewery where I was like, 90% of that stuff I probably wouldn't order on a bar. But hearing the story, it's like, of course I'm going to be doing that now. So they were really fun.
Their slogan,
That's so
nothing's left,
cool.
is because if there's nothing left in your cup or your glass at the end, then they've done something right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, it's-
That talk would hit me like a brick, too. Those
Yeah.
are my exact ideal.
Yeah. It's a husband and wife and her sister-in-law. Like it's
so
a really
cool.
cool, and they have some really cool. And it's Tulsa. Like there's some really cool breweries, but they're literally down the street from American Solaire. So it's like you have to find something to do. And like, I mean, it's Oklahoma, and we love Oklahoma, but it's a little.
Yeah.
You need to find.
It
You need to
was.
find the next AC place.
Every
that you're
time we
going
travel
to.
across
Sure.
country, we seem to plan it where we hit summer in every single state for like months on end. And I'm already a caveman hairy person. It's changing clothes 3 times a day. It's bouncing from AC to AC. I think it was like start of October, we were in Salem, Massachusetts, and it was still like 85 degrees, and I was legit angry. I was like, this needs to change. Like, it has to, or I'm gonna like lose my mind about the heat. And
Can we talk about Earthbound in St. Louis?
Oh yeah, that was great too.
So I'm pretty sure they've closed by now. So I think there's 3 breweries that we've podcasted with that have either closed since or have already closed whenever we interviewed them. But I think what's cool about us being like on location is we're in St. Louis. We like come off the street. It's this beautiful brick building. They have these huge archways. It was the original
I think it was Cherokee
Brewing back in the 1800s.
Whoa.
And the doors were built because the
Clydesdales
had to be able to come through to drop the kegs down on.
That's crazy.
So then they're taking us through the brewery, and Austin and I are both like, cleanliness. They've closed for other reasons.
They made great beer, but their brew house was like on like a plastic shipping slab.
It was a little scary.
And there was dust on their fermenters. And so for me, I was like, oh no, did we make a mistake? The beer was fantastic.
It was good.
Their grisette, their table beer was awesome.
Good.
All the farmhouse beers that require a little dust in the brewery.
Exactly.
Totally.
Hey, they found it.
They found it though. But you like went down, there was like 3 or 4 basements, and you literally walked down, and we have pictures on the Instagram, but you like walked down and you feel like you stepped back into the 1800s because it's just like this stone cladded like cave that's where they had all the beer because that was the only place it was cold.
Yeah, it was like their lager room.
Yes.
Yeah. It looks like
I felt like I was
in France if you go into the catacombs. It's all limestone. And
Yeah.
the way they
That's so
found out
cool.
about it was they were trying to they had this old building and were trying to find these different rooms and essentially were offering people a pint and a pickaxe to go chunk out rock of
Get the fuck out of here.
No, they did it. It took a year.
Regulars
They did
were
it.
just
insane.
drinking
But just
beer
giving them
and
beer.
excavating.
And then at some point, somebody found the
And-
staircase from Barbarian, and they
Yeah.
were like, "Hey, we're in business."
Yeah, all the vampires just come running out. You're like, oh no!
So these are the huge windows, or like their doors.
Those are beautiful.
And then you walk down, and then you're in this literal like
Yeah, and they just store kegs down there or use it as like an event space. But yeah, Danielle was awesome.
Dang.
we like walked
There's
in
no
and I
like
was like,
eyes wide shut parties down there and shit. Like, what's that looks like?
Just the keg washer getting stoned, being like, dude,
Such a waste of space.
imagine.
they did a lot of weddings there, and they were allowed to take pictures in that space.
That's so cool.
They did. So.
But also in Banded Brewing in Biddeford, they have viaducts underneath, and
Yes.
in Maine they have these
It's
giant
insane.
viaducts that like literally could house like lanes of traffic.
Yes.
And so they have these like tunnels that go down to essentially where these cisterns and viaducts are built that eventually get stopped because the city doesn't want people going down there. But they're like, yeah, this is like what's underneath our brewery, and I'm like, I don't think people would ever know any of this architecture is here.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So you just gotta go.
Yeah.
We literally
Or
have a
watch
bucket
your
list.
videos.
You can watch videos. But we do have a bucket list. If you are gonna do a bucket list, like I know people love to do like beer weekend, like go down to Portland or Seattle or Bend or whatever.
Yeah.
Portland, fucking Maine.
Yeah.
Portland, Maine.
Grit and grain on the road.
Yeah.
Portland,
We will-
fucking Maine.
We'll
It's
get people to
honestly
sponsor you out
I was
there.
gonna say,
We will literally line up your podcast
we're
schedule.
gonna
You guys just
need
go.
you guys for some hookups. But yeah, we'll
Through the grit and grain.
I'm down for a plane ride.
We have a few emails.
Yeah, hell yeah. I hate to say it, but we're at fuck up story time.
All right, Grit and Grainers. I'm Sean Jackson, and I fuck up all the God-blessed time, as we all do. So, please do regale us with your fuck up stories.
I feel like we did
Already?
not even cover fucking half of what I want to talk
That's
to you
all
guys
good.
about.
We'll come back. We're in
Yeah,
town.
you guys are here now.
Yeah.
So you can totally come back.
And then we're going to interview each one of you individually.
That's weird.
Get us all to
I
cry.
already did mine. I'm not even kidding. They totally made me open up about that shit. It was lovely, but it felt like a therapy session.
Yeah.
I had a great time. And it was over beer, so it was perfect. However,
Fuck it.
did you guys fuck up on the road?
Mess up people's names.
Did you change your
It
oil?
hit me.
Everybody, yeah.
Oh, well, we have
yeah.
gone through 2 transmissions on
Yeah,
it.
that actually happened
do it.
right
Yeah.
before we were leaving on this year road trip. We noticed our reverse wasn't necessarily getting into gear that quickly.
Shit.
So I took off the transmission pan and filter, which I was very ungracious about. It made me very angry.
Yeah, it's not
I
a good
cursed at my
thing.
van for hours and outspilled 32 gear teeth at least. And this is right when we're about to leave, and
We
I'm
were
like,
supposed to go to.
I bet
Col-
you-
we had podcasts booked in Colorado already.
Yep.
We had to cancel
Dude.
those.
so that was a nightmare between. Not slandering any businesses, but fuck you, Amco. Yeah.
I doubt they're
Slander
li-
if it's true.
I doubt they're
Amco had
you
to
can look
fight
at
with
the
them.
reviews. It's fine.
So that was like at the start, but I'm trying to think on the road.
On the road, Dude, I think people like.
Other than hitting that guy.
You just kept on driving.
Yeah. It was late.
No.
Probably wasn't even the guy.
Did you die? I mean,
Yeah, speed bump on the highway.
He might have
Hopefully it
more
was an
fuck-up
Amco rep.
stories.
Yeah, right.
He might actually have fuck-up stories from the brewery.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
But
there's
I
not a
think-
ton on the road.
I think podcasting.
We'll take a brewery fuck-up story.
Yeah, I guess it's not a brewery. It is one of my favorite, most popular ones
Oh, I
because there's a
have- I do
horrid
have a little
picture of
fuck-up
it.
story.
But I almost killed myself homebrewing for the first time.
Homebrewing.
I was
There we go.
homebrewing with my buddy
That's the flavor I was
Chris
looking
at
for.
Seven Seas, and he had a wide mouth
You'll know Chris.
carboy.
Chris, yeah.
Chris.
And so I'm sitting there and it's draining out the not pure sand, but whatever he was
Star
using,
sand.
star sand.
Yeah.
And so it had this lid and gasket on it, and I thought, oh, if I open the gasket a little bit, it'll get in there. Everything's gonna be sanitized. I'm wearing all my PPE from Seven Seas, and I just essentially kind of like hulked this carboy a little too hard, and I severed my muscle and tendon in my arm, and also didn't know at the time because I had gloves on, but cut this finger nerve to the bone.
That we found glass in 2 years later.
Yeah, but so I was.
Fuck out of here.
That's the
Yeah.
scar, right?
Yeah, this is the scar.
Okay.
It's like a Nike swoosh. Just do it.
Oh my God.
But yeah,
That's
so
a home brewing injury?
that's
Yeah.
my first time home brewing.
Fucking
So,
But
yeah.
none of it went to his chest. Think about it. He's holding this thing. It goes into his arms. Think about where it is on his chest, neck. He could have fucking died.
Yeah, dude, your jugular is like right there.
Right
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah.
Literally. And
I'm
Chris is in the
no
other room.
anatomy major, but I know I got lucky.
Yeah, I mean, all the things, yeah.
But it was funny showing up to like St. Joe's ER at like 9 at night, and I'm like covered in blood
Covered
because
in
when it
blood.
happened, I was like, if I put it above my head, it'll slow the bleeding. But then I'm just like carrying blood down on top of me, like Carrie from the movie. It just is like everywhere.
Effective in an emergency room, though.
Oh yeah, and then of course the right thing to do is just laugh. I'm literally just like laughing because I'm like, this is the dumbest thing that's happening, and I was supposed to have my 2-year review 2 days later at Seven Seas.
Right.
So we spend all night in the ER, and people would walk in and see me just bandaged up in a Hawaiian shirt covered in blood, and they'd be like, "Oh hell no!" and they just walked out. They were like, "Whatever is happening is not."
Something mishap.
Yeah. So yeah.
Fight someone with a samurai sword? What the fuck happened to you?
He fought himself. And
So-
the.
I did find it funny too that
And the carboy.
I was like, it was like 4 a.m. when I finally was getting discharged, and they're like, "Oh, you have to wait for a nurse to come by," and I was just tired, so I was like walking out, and somebody's like, "Hey, have you had a tetanus shot?" And so I say, "Well, I think," and they just like jab me with a needle. They're like, "Okay, there you go."
Like in the hallway?
Yeah, I'm like, that's not how you do that.
Drive-by tetanus.
Yeah, I was like,
Drive-by tetanus.
and yeah, needless to say, Mike and Travis were not happy when their only production person showed up like totally bandaged up, and I couldn't use my wrist, so it just kept flopping over like this. So they were
Fucking nightmare.
they were like, "What are you gonna do?" Well, we had just done like vintage bottles, so I was like wax dipping vintage bottles with like a one bum hand.
Is that why they're like that?
Well, that wax is not my fault. That wax is not my fault.
That's why it's red.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
That's my fault.
Why the wax is
needless
red.
to say.
That's amazing.
Sean Jackson doesn't have a scar like that.
No.
He's not. I don't know that he has.
I know. All the nurses are like, bro, what the fuck happened to you? You guys ever made beer at home
Yeah.
before?
Yeah.
Homebrew, dude.
Then
Yeah.
2 years, fast forward 2 years later, he's at Freem and he's on the bottling line and he's grabbing bottles and his finger keeps on hurting. He's like, what is going on? He's like, I know I have nerve damage. They got glass out of it one time, and so we're like, okay, so we think it's scar tissue, so we're trying to like work out the scar tissue. We're back. He's literally asking my dad for my hand in marriage, and like.
So my soon-to-be brother-in-law
Yeah.
is sitting there, so we get like a little knife, and we're like, let's just see what's in here.
Oh,
And we can't, we can't see anything.
It's a little like white bump, so it
Yeah.
looks like something is working its way out.
But we can't see anything, but we have tweezers. So then he's going like this, and we hear tink, 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 and then proceed to pull another shard of
Another shard
glass,
of
like
glass
out of my finger.
Your body like expelled shrapnel?
Yes,
Like
that he's had a piece of glass in his finger for 2 years, and he's been bottling at fucking Freem, holding cans or bottles like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I wonder why my finger hurts. There's a shard of fucking glass.
Yeah,
there's
true, I guess.
shrapnel in it.
Yeah, just push through.
It's been there for 2
For the love
years.
of the game.
Is it all out as far as you know?
I think
As
so.
far as we know, it's
Yeah.
been about So
It is funny.
5 years.
I know
since,
that
I
it sounds like
think.
there can't be more to the story. When they first like sewed it up, they took an X-ray and they're like, "Oh, it looks like there's a bone fragment." No, they opened it up and pulled out like an arrowhead-sized piece of glass. So the
Yeah.
first time they already sewed me up with a piece of glass. Then Reese sewed it back up, and then years later,
Still.
our friend and Rachel's girlfriend James works in a hospital. She works at TG. She's like, "What the fuck?"
What the fuck?
But yeah,
Insane.
yep.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Grit and Grainers.
Good luck.
Thanks.
So there's
Yeah,
that
have fun with the
fuck-up story.
outro.
Ross had enough. That's it.
This is a long
Call
one.
it a day.
Email us at cheersandgritandgrainpodcast.com with your comments, opinions, and things you can see through a sight glass, such as a rogue hop pellet piluette. Jesus. Like a tiny green ballerina in a rave of its own design. Yeast colonies staging a slow motion uprising, mutating into abstract art and alien cartography, all at once. Thank you. And if you're lucky, Austin and Julie themselves magnified in a little warped halos of brewhouse light encircling them like a sainted sages of fermentation, peering in with the intensity of lovers who truly care whether your beer has a soul. We read and drink everything we receive, and we try to respond as fast as we can. If not online, then on air. You can subscribe to Grit and Grain on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and please leave us a review. Also, check us out on Channel 253, Douglas.
Fuck yeah.
And gritandgrainpodcast.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for episode notes, beer news, and how the Thru the Sightglass sees the Grit and Grain podcast. With Matt McLaren, part podcast shaman, part barley-fueled bard, whose voice could coax a confession from a keg, whose deadpan surrealism swirls like a smoke through a rick house of irreverence, an existential beer whisperer with a penchant for dropping Zen riddles wrapped in level 3 precision. Ron Swarner, a righteous swirl of fermented dad jokes, Rube Goldberg metaphors, and literally hot bombs of Grandpa Simpson speak, could monologue an entire Mexican lager into existence. And Bethany Carlson, the secret backbone of the madness, delivering lines of precision through slices of froth, her timing sharper than a citrus snap in a kettle sour. Together with producer Dougie Fresh and utility player Phaedra, they're not just hosts, they're chaotic podcast beer-soaked asides that somehow and possibly always circle back to the story. Through the sight glass, they are the burst pipe you laugh out, the wart-splashed whiteboard that still gets the job done, the podcast equivalent of a triple dry-hopped inside joke. And yes, somehow they pull it off with reverence and ridiculous joy. If this podcast is not what you expected, please alter your expectations. Or visit the Thru the Sightglass. A series of rich and fermentation-fueled humanity that practically sweats Simcoe and sincerity, where Julie and Austin just ask the right questions. And you know, the best stories aren't written, they're tapped, poured, and passed through intention.
Damn.
Oh, yeah.
That's so good.
I've got a cramp.
No such thing as bad time to visit Tacoma.
No.
There's no such thing as too much barley wine.
Nope.
Tune in next Friday for more sweet chatter. Cheers, my friends.
That was awesome.
The best stories aren't written, they're poured.
I know.
It's so fucking good, Ron. Holy shit. Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us at Grit and Grain Podcast wherever you get your social media and catch new episodes every Friday. Cheers.
Get up.
Channel 253 is member supported. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you. Grit and Grain is part of the Channel 253 podcast network. Check out our other shows: Nerd Farmer, Move to Tacoma, Interchangeable White Ladies, What Say You, Citizen Tacoma, and Kitchen 253.
This is Channel 253.